So traditionally, I've always been going to the shop, going to a retail outlet, and touch, feel, first-hand experience of the material before I make a decision to buy. The consumer behavior between me and my wife is very different. She's very open to. She does a lot of TikTok shopping. I find that consumers who purchase through TikTok, they're a lot more sophisticated. Live streamer that travels across the region. So they are sort of like a personal shopper for the consumer. So anywhere they go, they enter the shop, they take advance orders, and they help the consumer buy on their behalf. But in essence, they're offering that touch feel sensation because they're filming. I realized that Anchanto has this appetite for growth. Anchanto is looking for that next chapter. Anchanto is preparing for that next chapter. That was something that was very exciting for me in learning that even at a co-founder level, that's the vision that they are sharing with every new hire that's coming in. So for me, that has not changed in the last 5 years. That was interesting. The other thing that was interesting was that Anchanto today works with a lot of different international brands.
Duncan, thank you very much. Thank you for being here with me today. I wanted to start the conversation with maybe how Anchanto has changed your consumer behavior. So you were just saying just before we start that, it's your 5th year anniversary in the company. You've held multiple roles from business development to operation. You're now leading the development of the RevOps function.
Yeah.
Did that make you, working with Anchanto, working with brands in an e-commerce landscape, did that make you a more difficult consumer and buyer with brands?
I mean, first off, thanks so much for getting me included in this podcast. Really happy to be here. I think that it has shaped my consumer behavior slightly differently. I think I have a different lens now when I am purchasing items. What attracted me when I joined Anchanto was that e-commerce as a platform is fairly new in Asia. It's still a growing market. And I'm a Gen X sort of consumer, if that makes sense, right? So traditionally, I've always been going to the shop, going to a retail outlet, and touch, feel, first-hand experience of the material before I make a decision to buy. I think Anchanto has opened my eyes in terms of how consumers are behaving differently on multiple fronts. Firstly, I think it's made it a lot easier for consumers to actually buy or follow a brand, learn about the brand, and there are many options in terms of how consumers can actually purchase, right? Whether it's in a store, whether it's through a marketplace, whether it's directly through the brand's website. I think it's made it a lot easier because there's a running joke in the office where I love a lot of sneakers. I have a huge collection, but platforms like StockX allowed me to buy without going to a shop. I also discovered brands or platforms like Ant Clothing from the UK, which was more plus size friendly. I'm a big guy. It's not easy to find clothes in Singapore. And at the same time, we also discovered Uniqlo, where Uniqlo had a very pure online shopping experience for plus size shoppers, which you couldn't find in the retail store. So I think those different experiences gave me a sort of like a good entry into what Anchanto can do and what Anchanto is doing with a lot of different brands, specifically around Asia. Yeah.
You just spoke about 3 different platforms.
Yeah.
One is you from the US, StockX,
Yes,
I think.
StockX from the US.
One is from the UK, one is from Japan.
Yeah.
What does it say for you about the behaviors? How do you see the customer experience with these different platforms? And does it actually resonate with what you're seeing with the different customers that Anchanto has?
Yeah, I think that if I were to look at the platforms like StockX and Ant Clothing, they are a little bit further in terms of the consumer journey than here in Asia. I think in Asia we're still trying to get to a level where there's an association with those platforms in terms of how they purchase, right? I think for me the closest bet I would say that a lot of customers today that we are serving, I think they're trying to be sort of like a Uniqlo kind of a shopping experience. I mean, what was unique for me was that Uniqlo makes it extremely easy for me to purchase online, and even though purchase and return, whether it is purchasing an item online and then returning at the shop, that whole experience has been very, in a way, seamless. What was also unique was that because of my size, I can't find clothing in stock. So I think this was also something that's very unique to Uniqlo, where specific sizes you're only available to buy kind of online. But the return process, the process of actually trying to try before you buy, has made it a lot more accessible for me specifically. I think when I look at the likes of like a StockX to a certain degree has also sort of gamified their platform where you're bidding against other users. There's a very particular shoe that you like, and it depends. It's a very buyer-seller kind of a model, right? The closest one I can think of in Asia could be a Carousel here in Singapore, where
Which is more consumer to consumer,
yeah,
C2C.
consumer to consumer. But I think at the same time, it made hard to get shoes, hard to get brands a lot more accessible for the common person, right? So I think StockX also kind of gave me a different perspective in terms of now you have access to kind of harder to find items. So I think that was also good.
So where's the gap? Why do we have brands, retailers, even from Western companies that are have a omni-channel model pretty developed in Europe, in the US? Where's the gap? Why is it still not there, do you think?
I think it's kind of the reverse, right? Because if you think about the likes of TikTok Shop today, right? It's kind of more Asia. It was Asia-led, and then Europe is trying to kind of, Europe and American markets are trying to kind of follow that model, right? Because in my household, I'm still more traditional in terms of how I purchase. The consumer behavior between me and my wife is very different. She's very open to. She does a lot of TikTok shopping. I find that consumers who purchase through TikTok, they're a lot more sophisticated. Sophisticated in the sense where they already have a lot of other consumer insights. They have a lot of reviews that were done. There were a lot of good stories. There were a lot of proof points to say that this is the right kind of. You should be buying this particular kind of product. Whereas in America and Europe, that's a little bit different. It's more brand recognition. I'm associate myself to that brand, and then I decide to buy based on that brand. Whereas here, I would say it's really more around how others have experienced that particular product that helps you to take that decision to kind of buy. I think that's where there's a slight gap, I would say, today. Also, when we look at brands across Southeast Asia, specifically Southeast Asia, I would say that they're still sort of branching out into the Europe and American markets, right? And funny enough, TikTok is kind of one of the best channels that allows them to get their brand identity in Europe and America. So I feel like platforms like TikTok, like Shopee, not so much maybe Shopee and Lazada, slightly different kind of a model there, but it's helped brands get better identity because there's a lot of voices on the ground and people buy from people. So I feel that this is probably the gap that I see.
So this is how you feel like, for example, you were talking about your wife who's a TikTok shopper. This is what you're saying. You feel like, she starts being more loyal towards some brands, maybe something that she didn't have before by buying on marketplaces or.
Exactly, and I think it also helps them to discover new brands, right? Like for me, again, because of my age, you're more aligned to better established brands. You may not have so much willingness to try new brands, right? What it has taught me, seeing from how my wife purchases, I think it's also given me a new perspective in terms of discovering new brands. Again, because of my current size, I'm kind of forced to search for brands where it facilitates sort of plus size clothing for guys. So I think that's also opened up a new journey in terms of what's available that's out there, right? But when you look at Asia, I think that we're still getting to the likes of like how developed America and Europe are.
I wanted to go back on when you were talking about online to offline,
Yeah.
what you were talking about with Uniqlo. So how, seamless the experience is. I think Decathlon is another example of
Yeah.
how they managed to build a beautiful omnichannel experience. Do you feel like it's? I mean, there's always this debate on omnichannel. It can represent more like a cost center for some brands because it's more like an experience thing rather than a revenue opportunity for some of them. What do you think about this? Do you feel like it should be actually the norm, this omnichannel thing, or you understand why some brands would be a bit reluctant to enabling and building all the capabilities that actually are required to run this kind of operation? It seems simple and seamless as a consumer. We know what it looks like in the background, right? So do you understand this trade-off or this like the pace that some brands are taking to the time they take to?
I think more and more, again, very Southeast Asia specific. I think in Southeast Asia, it's still first and foremost brands, retailers. They still want to build a local brand identity before they think about going regional or even international. I think if you compare this to China, China's a lot more ambitious. China typically wants to go very big bang. Typically, they want to kind of push that brand identity globally. So I think when you look at South, I think we are getting there. Yes, it's a necessary evil for brands and retailers to go the omni-channel route. I think you cannot avoid going omni-channel. You have to.
It's part of an experience that is required now.
Yes, it will be part of that experience. And today you have a lot more sophisticated buyers. I think if you look at the profile of consumers in the next 5 to 10 years, everyone's going to go more digital, buy through digital channels. In fact, if you look at the retail space today, it's a little bit sad. Singapore used to be known as a shopping paradise. Today, if you typically go, it's very concentrated in specific areas, right? And in the past, you can say that there's 5-6 different avenues within Singapore, for example, that you can go and shop. Today, it's probably 2 or 3. So I think that it is a necessary evil. I think you cannot avoid it. But I think in small pockets, it kind of makes sense. But it's not something that you can avoid. And we are seeing this with all the customers today. Most of the customers, especially in the enterprise space, they all have sort of like a view in adopting an omni-channel kind of strategy. Some investments more on the retail front, but some investments more on the digital channel. But it is a growing space for those organizations.
You were talking about Singapore and how some brands want to localize first. Southeast Asia is known as a very fragmented market. When e-commerce exploded in the 2010s, a lot of marketplaces, a lot of channels were created. It was very difficult for brands to navigate this landscape. Do you feel like it's still that fragmented in how you see purchasing behavior? You come from a family that has a lot of different origins and nationalities inside in Asia and outside. So I guess you also see these different consumer behaviors in your family. So how do you see? Is it more nuanced than that now? It's more leveled in a way, like shopping in Vietnam, shopping in Thailand, and in Singapore actually ends up being very similar, or there is still these strong differences that you need to get in order to be successful in these markets?
No, I think that I won't say that it's kind of plateaued out, but I would say that a lot of the different brands across Asia, they kind of know where their sweet spot is, right? And we've seen this with the customers that we engage with, right? The moment you want to go regional, the moment you want to go international, just because you need to reach to a bigger audience, digital channel is the only way you need to kind of look at this. So I feel like in building the brand, having more channels available or going with a omni-channel strategy, I think helps you to build that brand identity. But it's also about discovering new brands, right? I feel like newer brands have a bigger appetite in investing in omni-channel upfront, whereas more established brands are kind of taking small steps to kind of get there. But for newer brands, where they really want to be international quickly, or there's a brand called Gymshark. I don't know whether you heard of this brand called Gymshark, right? But Gymshark is pure online today. So, and they ship anywhere in the world. 3 months ago, I didn't hear of this brand. I would have bought from Under Armour, Nike, or Adidas, right? But because I want to find something different, I want to be a little bit unique. That's how I discovered Gymshark. So if I use that as one example, I think that's how newer brands, especially Southeast Asia, building that business. I think you have to go with that model early stages rather than at a later stage.
But does being online kind of help you avoid the difficulty of localizing? Or do you feel like it's still a hurdle that's typically Gymshark, which is a pure play? If I want to sell in Thailand, is it just, I'm online, so it's just as easy as it seems? Or do you feel like there are still hurdles and operations complexities that I need to overcome?
I think there will still be hurdles. I think no one can be the Amazon tomorrow, where you can have like within 24, 48 hours delivery in locally. So I think where the consumer takes a little bit of time to decide to buy online is that whole process of how long it takes to deliver, when will I get my item, the whole pain of if I have to do a return, all of those considerations, right? But slowly it's becoming a little bit more simplified, if that makes sense. So I bought something from Amazon the other day, and I had to do a return. It's the first time that I actually bought something from Amazon and I needed to do a return. The return experience for me was absolutely seamless. So the moment I logged my return, it gave me a quick QR code. Yeah. That QR code is already linked to my postal office here in Singapore. So it made the entire thing very seamless for me. When I went to the postal office, scan the QR code, I can do the return almost immediately. So I think this for me is how do we reduce some of these different gaps to make that experience a little bit more seamless for the consumer. I think those will get the consumer to take the decision of plunge to buy earlier rather than decide on, do I need to wait a little bit longer? Maybe when it's available in locally, then I decide to buy. Yeah.
What do brands you feel get wrong when they expand into Southeast Asia or into Asia as a whole? Is there like a gap that maybe they underestimate, or you were talking about behavior, you're talking about the sophistication of the consumer, especially in Southeast Asia? Yeah. Is there like something that you feel is they get wrong from the start?
I think today, like if you were to ask me today, it's like if you look to examples like Indonesia, Vietnam, even Korea, there are many local brands that are doing very well in country. So I think international brands moving into these markets, I think that's the competition that they need to work against, right? And for them, these new brands that are established in local country, they already have digital channels. They're selling through digital channels, and I think that's where there's that better brand association. So I feel like I think that's a gap that they need to kind of overcome. Yes, it's going to take a little bit of time, but adversely, those local brands, I think they still need to figure out what's that niche market that they have, right?
So say I'm entering Korea, for example, which we know is an Eldorado for a lot of brands. A lot of demand. Basket sizes can be pretty high. But for a lot of brands, it kind of becomes a black box because of the complexity, because of the local channels. You don't sell on Amazon in Korea. So what do I need, do you think, as a brand to how do I need to equip, how do I need to surround myself, in order to be successful in this market where I will build potentially like a local team. I will expand and try to capture most of this market, but it will remain a market very difficult to navigate. So what does it take to be successful and beat these local competition that you were talking about?
A lot of customers today, um, typically why they look at platforms like Enchanto even is because it already gives them some platform where they can integrate what they have locally with what's available internationally as well. I realized when I joined Enchanto, for example, like if I wanted to sell on Amazon, Amazon is country specific platforms. So if I want to be able to put my product in an Amazon marketplace, but if I want it to be in Korea, in US, in Singapore, in Malaysia, then I need to have all these channels that I'm available on, right? So I think that for me was the complexity. That's what a lot of our customers are slowly discovering. For me to then take my operations, which are already well established in country, make them regional, make them international, I'm now discovering that there's all these little additional channels that I need to add. It's not a one size fit all kind of channel. So I think that's probably the realization that some organizations are going through. The smaller ones are realizing it. The bigger ones that's something they need to get some grapple over, right? We work with some big brands today. Sometimes it's a little bit interesting to also learn that as big a brand that they are, well known internationally, they're still not present in certain specific markets like a Vietnam, and like in the last 18 months they've only started to open up that Vietnam marketplace channel, right? And in doing this, they also need to sort of start to look at all the different new platforms that they need to now start integrating with. I think that's also something of a realization for bigger brands to come to grips with. Yeah.
I wanted to come back on TikTok Shop, but more broadly on live commerce, which is quite of a Asian thing for now. I feel me coming from Europe, I don't see it that much developed as developed as it is anyway in on Lazada, on Shopee, for example. It was just 5.5 a few days ago, and when you have the app, you can see all of these different lives that are available. Are you a consumer of live commerce? Is it something that you kind of picked up on, or maybe your wife, as you were saying, she's more of a TikTok Shop kind of buyer?
Funny enough, slowly, yes, I have picked up on it. Recently, we were supposed to have our anniversary, and there was a TikTok live stream on flowers. So which allowed me to buy online almost immediately based on the bouquet that the person and I think
so they were doing the bouquet live?
They were doing the bouquet lives, and it's like, okay, now it's available for you to purchase. If you buy within the next 10 minutes, you get some special bundle. So I learned that. That was one interesting experience in terms of TikTok Shop Live or live TikTok shoppers. But at the same time, like if I observe how my wife purchases now, I think that's also something that I'm realizing, right? Because for example, I need to buy washing machine pots. You know, when I want to, So it's a big brand. It's a very known brand, but they're using live stream shoppers to actually push the product for themselves, where they're selling it as a bundle, where they have a specific hours. So I've learned this on TikTok Shop, right? There are very specific hours that you can get the best deal. And they based on the time that they stream. If a particular live streamer streams at a certain time, then that's the best hour for you to get the bundle pricing, and that's where you see the view count kind of go up. So it's interesting to learn that shoppers have also adapted. Consumers are also adapting, right? Not just about yes, I like how the way the person presents, but I think it's also about when do I get the best deals. And there are a lot of bundle associations, a lot of things that they bundle with these products. So I think that was interesting. Another example was there's a live streamer that travels across the region. So they are sort of like a personal shopper for the consumer. So anywhere they go, They enter the shop, they take advance orders, and they help the consumer buy on their behalf. But in essence, they're offering that touch feel sensation because they're filming. Yes, I can describe the product. Yes, it looks good. Yes, it's the right color. Yes, I can do the inspection for you. So I think I see this growing a lot more, and I think that people who are selling online are also becoming a little bit more specific. They also have their own brand identity where this specific TikTok live streamer is always finding the best deals that are possible, or they first start off by doing certain product reviews, right? So it is and will be a growing channel. They
Yeah,
will
you're
be the
sure
new
about this?
Yeah.
So it feels like we went full cycle.
Yes.
Like 20 years ago, you know that at 8 a.m. there was
Correct.
the shopping feed on TV. They were showing the different products.
Yes.
We went completely away from that.
Correct.
We're back to it.
Yep.
Same thing. It feels like with e-commerce, you can buy, you can buy anytime you want, 24/7, right?
Yeah.
But what you're saying is people know that there's going to be a live. So they're back at knowing their agenda. Yeah,
Yes.
like, oh, at 8 p.m. I need to be in front of my phone or my tablet, whatever, to see the live shopping so I can purchase the right products.
Yeah. And even the likes of like a Shopee and Lazada, right? All those 5,566 sales days, you are basically archiving your basket, right? You're putting everything in your basket and you're not checking out until 5/5, right? So I think all of these small behaviors, I think, will shape the way consumers buy, kind of moving forward. What's interesting for me is that, again, it's the age of the consumer. I think a lot of the consumers today, if I were to look at the millennials or the new generation of shoppers, I feel like they are moving away from the best deal. It's not about buying a big basket of a lot of things at the cheapest price. It's more around a curated set of things that I only want to get. So I think that affiliation is this person giving me what I want to see? Are we of the same mindset? I think that helps me to make my purchasing decision.
I want to start getting more into work and life at Anchanto, and so kind of connect the dots between what how you're talking about these cultural differences and what people like in Southeast Asia and how it translates also into work. At Anchanto, we're 300 employees, 12 countries, from Southeast Asia all the way to Europe, Middle East. Does your own international background and your what you're talking about with the way you see consumers behaving differently in Southeast Asia or in other countries, do you see a parallel with how we behave in the company and how different nationalities kind of work together?
Yeah, short answer is yes. Definitely yes. I joined at a time where we were just more than 150 employees, and we haven't even branched into Europe yet. We are just at the early stages of getting into the Europe region. So for me, I think that and one of the first few things that I was hired was setting up this business development function. And my first task in setting up this business development function, because it's brand new, was that I need to hire a business development rep in all the APAC countries or Southeast Asia countries. So that my first task was trying to hire from all these different countries. Yes, you will have different profiles of people, culturally different, but I think that we took a very conscious decision in having local presence, because locals sell to local. You buy from a local. I think that was the right decision that we took. But adopting to sort of like an international standard process. So I think for me, that's something that I feel that we've done well. There will always be cultural differences. Enchanto for me is a little bit unique because we number one, we value the cultural difference. Number two, I think we consciously want to make sure that that local presence gives customers a little bit more assurance in terms of, yes, we are Singapore based. We may not be directly with you, but we do have people on the ground with you, and again, it's the people that are the ones that are doing the execution. So that for me has been a little bit unique about Enchanto in terms of how we facilitate that cultural difference.
You joined so you were saying 5 years ago, you joined to build the BD function in
Yes.
APAC.
Yes.
You then moved to another role to build the CEO office, so global operation team. And just a few months ago, you were appointed as VP Revenue Operation at Anchanto. So what does it say about the growth and how did these career movements happen, over these 5 years? Was it like, there's room, there's an opportunity, or a conscious decision on your side?
I think one of the biggest things that attracted me to Enchanto is really two parts. I think first of all, I will never forget my first interview with our co-founders. And essentially, when I went for the interview, I was actually interviewing for a sales director role. It was nothing to do with the actual role that I was hired for. But in those conversations, I realized that Enchanto has this appetite for growth. Enchanto is looking for that next chapter. Enchanto is preparing for that next chapter. That was something that was very exciting for me in learning that even at a co-founder level, that's the vision that they are sharing with every new hire that's coming in. So for me, that has not changed in the last 5 years. That was interesting. The other thing that was interesting was that Enchanto today works with a lot of different international brands. I've been with organizations that are Salesforce and Microsoft, already international, which then branched out into Southeast Asia. But here is kind of the reverse that's happening, right? You are breaking out into newer regions. That for me was very exciting because we are already working with a lot of big players, very, very household names. And just if you imagine this consumer journey, Enchanto is pretty much at every touch point of this journey where the brand is there. That for me presented a very attractive sort of offering, because it's very rare for you to work in an organization where you get to be part of that next level of growth, right? So, and I've been privileged enough to kind of see this, in the last 5 years.
So every time you were kind of handed over a blank page in a way. So what does it say about you? That you like to start over every 2 years, build something new?
No, I think it's been a mix, right? I think working with I've been lucky enough to number one, work with sort of like the core leaders of the business. That for me has been very fortunate. I was sharing a little bit earlier that my first interview with the co-founders was me on a whiteboard explaining how I would do things a little bit differently, how I would organize my team, right? And just based on that conversation, I think that was the catalyst for them to say that, okay, looks like this guy has a passion.
Yeah.
Looks like this guy has enough experience. Let's take a bet on him. I feel in the last 5 years I've been fortunate where opportunities have come about where I've been able to kind of raise my hand to the leaders and essentially pitch the new idea, right? And this was partly with the BD and then partly with sales operations, because in my role as the BD director, I was also reporting to a CRO. And in working with the CRO and the different sales teams and sales leaders in country, we realized that there's some operational gaps. So that was the opportunity for me to raise my hand and say, hey, let's put in place a sales operations team and kind of build this out. Similarly, when we talk about this CEO office, I think this was something that at that time in Enchanto's growth, where I think we were almost at our peak in terms of X number of employees. I think that's also where strategically it makes sense, because now you're present in more than 11 countries. This global operations function, CEO office function, it makes sense. So I was fortunate enough to kind of raise my hand in seeing those little movements that are happening and say, yes, does it make sense for me to join? I would very much like to be part of the founding group in kind of setting this up. And we've had some some good and bad lessons through these experiences. But like today with revenue operations, 2 years ago we were saying we had a model through sales operations that work. We've been able to replicate this model with account management. We've been able to replicate this model with marketing operations. And now today we're coming back and saying, let's bring everything back together. Because for me, at this stage, where we're at, it's really about revenue enablement. So we've gone from operational to revenue enablement. So I think that's part of the growth journey as well.
So it's about revenue enablement. Maybe you can explain briefly what revenue operation is and why it makes sense in the context of Anchanto at this stage.
Yeah, revenue operations at Anchanto today is we kind of had this vision about a year ago, but we concretely took action around about October of last year, and today. And when we started on this journey of revenue operations, I think it's two parts that was really the outcomes that we were looking for. The first outcome was that we identified that while we have teams that are operationally supporting the different functions, there's still some silos that are there. So bringing everything together as a centralized function called revenue operations, I think that was the first call in trying to, number one, not just streamline, but provide a consistency, have a standard way of working across the board. I think that's something that we wanted as an outcome. Second is as we have grown, I think there's also this acknowledgement that do we focus more on operational execution, or do we get the teams to have a realization of what is the revenue outcomes? Yes, we are doing a lot. At Anchanto, we do a lot. We do a lot almost every day. We do a lot of experimentation. We start a lot of new projects. But I think there's also this realization now is what are the revenue outcomes that we are looking for? So revenue operations is really meant to work with the teams in getting them to focus on very specific revenue outcomes rather than over-experiment. I think that was one of the main things as outcomes that we wanted. When we took the decision to kind of start this group, operationally, we do have systems in place, people in place to kind of support the business, but we need to move towards more a model, which is how do we enable? So for me, the biggest outcome from this exercise in the last few months is enabling the teams, and we are taking new steps to see how we can create these different programs to do the enablement for the functions. And again, when I was looking at profiles, revenue enablement is a very big it's a very big role today as part of revenue operations. When you look at even revenue operations, it covers a lot of things. In some organizations, it reports to a CRO. In other organizations, it reports to a CFO. I think we have taken very conscious decision in terms of where we're at as a business to kind of align the team to that state. And again, I see that this will be a function that in the next 5 years will be different. We'll have a different focus. Yeah.
So it means more coherency, smoother operations for Anchanto. What's in there for Anchanto prospects and customers with your function? What do you think it will help with?
So I think on a few things. I think we are operating now to not just connect the frontline teams, but we also want to connect the different business stakeholders in terms of the execution piece. I think that bringing the teams together in terms of having a very common narrative on what is the focus, what are the outcomes that we're looking for, I think will bring the teams in number one, prioritizing which is the customer that we should be focusing on. As you have already known, Anchanto, in the last 5 years, we have been working with many different profiles of customers, some very early stages, some very established. And it brings a different set of complexity, the profile of the customer. I think this team working with the different stakeholders in the business, I think this is about transitioning the whole organization to focus on the right space that we want to be in. I think that's what our new customers, our existing customers will get to experience, right? As we move to a model where we are focused on helping them deliver on certain business outcomes, I think that will be the shift that they see. Yeah.
the fact that you changed role 4 times actually, because it was
Yeah.
BD, then sales ops, then global ops, then
Yeah.
revenue operation.
Yeah.
What does it say about career opportunities at Anchanto? What would you? What you said that you interviewed quite a few quite a few people for the different functions that you led. So yeah, what do you tell them when everybody's asking always? I mean, people ask me also this question in interview, like, what's next after this role, or what are going to be the opportunities? Anchanto is growing, Anchanto is international, which can also be scary for some team members, but as you say, exciting and potentially a lot of opportunities. So yeah, what does it say? I think you're the embodiment of raising your hand, proposing something. Yeah. What does it say about the career culture, I would say?
Yeah, and I think that's a good question, because if anything, in all my conversations, whether it's an interview or with new prospects, for me, I think Enchanto embodies opportunity on two fronts, right? With our customers, it's opportunity for you to go into new markets, I think, but within Enchanto itself, we have been giving a lot of our team members opportunities for their growth. We've created a lot of new roles. I think for me, the realization has been that why have I been fortunate enough to move to different roles in Enchanto? I think number one, I've been fortunate to work with different stakeholders, and fortunate enough that the leadership team really wants to focus on solving certain problems. In solving certain problems, I think that's where you create opportunities where, okay, this is where a function can support. And I think this is the narrative that I typically share with a lot of different folks. I'm one person that 4 times we've created new functions, but it's all aligned to sort of like the business outcomes.
Yeah.
What continues to remain true for me is that Enchanto is a place where you are encouraged to innovate. Enchanto is a place where you are encouraged to fail. In fact, and in some cases we failed spectacularly. But there will always be nuggets where we've been able to uncover new talent, new diamonds, people that didn't realize that they had this ability. Suddenly they have this ability to do something different. I'm not the only one in Enchanto. There are many other counterparts or team members that have had their roles change over the last 3 to 4 years, right? Probably for me, in all the different functions that I have been able to be involved in as of now, I think one of the first things that I wanted to bring to the table was, how does your career journey looks like at Anchanto? So and I think this has been something that when I talk to other team members, this is also something that they put as part and parcel of their culture. So one of the things is, let's spell out very clearly what that progression path will look like for the team member. There will be opportunities along this journey where they can pivot and do something different. But I think that comes with a lot of open communication. So when there's new opportunities in the organization, we make it known to the organization. People can raise their hands. When people want to try something different, we encourage them to try something different as well. So I think those are some of the, I would say, things that make Enchanto a little bit more unique than other organizations. It also comes at a stage that we are at, right? We're still at a stage where we are not a startup anymore, but we are still agile enough where we can afford to kind of shape and morph how we want our structure to kind of look like. And I mean, we've been through this. We've probably gone through like 3 or 4 different iterations of how the team structure can look like. But I think we're at a space now where we're quite comfortable and we kind of are very clear. These are the different kind of pods that will help us to be successful.
You were just talking about innovation. Anchanto is an innovative company. Sorry. How does that translate every day? So more AI usage, for example, that we've rolled out over the past few years now in different teams. So whether it is, again, I mean, opening up again to what you think the company is going to offer customers, what we want to offer our employees, our partners, different team members in helping bring innovation and benefit also from this momentum that is happening throughout the world and in the tech space, especially with AI. How do you see the next few years from an innovation perspective?
I think for me, when I look at and we have this almost every month in our town hall, we celebrate all the wins that we have done with our customer.
Yeah.
We celebrate when we've successfully delivered on a project. So I think what's in store for the customer is that Anchanto really values the space that we are working with the customer. We clearly want to align with what the customers and business outcomes are going to look like. But from an innovation standpoint, I think this is where we have opportunity. And we've only started to realize this opportunity by actually being more international. The fact that we've now have a team in Europe, the fact that we've grown to more countries, I think allows us to innovate. And I think at times is where we're placing our bets in terms of this innovation. But it's also given us an opportunity to say, okay, this is something that can benefit all customers globally. I think now we're going with let's innovate, but innovate that benefits customers globally rather than very region specific. Where we were in the past would be country specific, region specific, and innovate around that. But now we're kind of looking at it more from, does this benefit my global customer base? So I think that's where we are a little bit, we've grown in terms of how we want to innovate. Fundamentally, we had a mandate last year where everybody needs to, in their day-to-day work, you have to incorporate AI in some way, shape, and form. So I think that's one way of encouraging our team members to be innovative. And we have had some wins. We had an innovation drive project that was done with the engineering team, right? And we did discover a few different wins, and we tried to apply this with certain customers. Yeah. So I do see us still making this investment in terms of innovation. I think what customers can expect is that the innovation that we're going to bring will be something that they can readily apply globally, right? I think the innovation that we bring will help them to genuinely scale their business. I won't say now at a fraction of the cost, but the time for them to kind of get the ROI from that investment, I think will be a lot shorter. So I think that's what I see in the next 2 to 3 years. And I think the way that the team has been shaped, the way that we have a very clear idea of what we want the product to deliver, I think this is also very, very clear within the organization that we're in. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Duncan, for the conversation. It was nice doing it in front of camera instead of the coffee. I guess we'll come back together to the office and see each other this afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charles.